What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down the Wire. I'm Brian Costa,
And I'm Tyler Tucker.
and we got a great episode for you tonight. It's a little bit of a late night episode here at the Koffler Center. Tyler, how you doing? I know it's been a while.
I've been doing good. Unfortunately, that's my fault. We're a little late. I actually run 30 minutes behind schedule of everyone else. So that you could blame this one on me tonight. But been good, man. It's a pleasure to be back on the show as always, and excited to dive into it tonight.
Absolutely, man. We got a ton to talk about. One of the reasons I wanted to get you back on tonight is I know you're a real fan of the UConn Huskies men's basketball team. And they just had some exciting news, exciting game this past week. We're going to talk about that as well as LSU versus Iowa, and then talk about some NFL and some MLB storylines. So it's going to be a good show. I'm really excited for it. So first of all, yeah, Ty, UConn back on top of the mountain. They'd been it'd been a while since they got back to prominence and were national champs. I know. When was the last time they won again before this?
2014.
Yeah, so 2014. Just want to get your mic good. But yeah, I remember growing up in middle school, and UConn was the staple of just like college basketball for the longest time for both men and women because of just how purely dominant they were. I mean, the women at one point, they won 4 straight championships, and then the men were right behind them too, as they just continued to just, just be amazing in that time. And then they kind of hit that lull, and then you weren't able to really find, they really just weren't able to find a good footing for a while in the tournament. And then this year, just they were extremely strong. Like I know you went to a couple games and got to see them live in person. Man, just kind of break it all down for me from your experience as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the good old days as well as anyone. This year was definitely an outlier year because the women's team is always just dominant. And always a 1 seed. And I mean, they had a down year this year and they were a 2 seed. So,
exactly.
I mean, you can't really fault them too much. This UConn men's team, from the beginning of the season, I was just like, there's something different about it. And actually, the first time I saw them in person, it was at the start of in conference play.
Yeah,
I saw them play Providence, and they were just so much bigger.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, they had 2 full units that could go at any time. So I mean, they're running about 8-9 guys deep at any given time, any given night. And they could run with everyone. They were bigger than everyone, and having a 1-2 punch like Sonogo and Klingon to just dominate in the paint. It was a truly incredible team. They found their rhythm. They started hitting their shots and just played with like a lot of size and confidence, which, that's a lot of what you need to win a national championship.
Absolutely, man. I mean, they were just, and like they rolled through this tournament. I think what was the lead, the smallest margin of victory, wasn't it? Like 15 points or something.
Yeah,
they
so.
blew out every single team in this tournament.
They didn't lose. Every single game they played, they won by double-digit margins. So if that'll go to tell you anything, and they faced some tough competition. I mean, I was thinking they were going to maybe even get knocked off by Arkansas at some point, but they just consistently every game came out and just rolled on teams.
No, I mean, they just fought every single time, and they ended up beating the San Diego State Aztecs 76-59. I mean, I'll give San Diego State credit. Late, kind of early in that second half, they made it a game. I think it was 6-7 points, almost. So they played awful in that first half, and it was all right, UConn just going to roll over these guys. But credit to them enough. They came back and they made it a game early on in that second half. But again, UConn, like you said, just had the size advantage, is just, more just seasoned, I guess, at this point, and it has been in this situation before, unlike San Diego State. And they were just able to really just use that to their advantage in this one. I mean, I
raised the point now too. Is there any more debate on whether or not they're a blue blood or not? I really don't think there is. I think, 5 national championships within 25 years. That's pretty impressive. I think that's blue blood capability right there.
I mean, for a school that had once contemplated leaving the Big East and getting out because of just competition and not thinking that they were going to be able to, really compete in that league too. Just the amount of success that they've had, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see. I mean, you have many great UConn teams in the past, like the Kemba Walker years and all those great teams. And, in your opinion, from the championships you've seen, where does this one rank?
I mean, as far as pure dominance and just cruising through the tournament, like this was probably the easiest tournament
Yeah,
for me to watch because, every game I was just,
exactly.
watching greatness. I would have to say for me personally, the Kemba Walker run definitely holds a special place in my heart
Yeah,
because that was, when I was young getting into basketball and that little guard carrying a team, I was like, that's my man.
that's your guy.
But this is definitely up there. A lot of characters on the team, a lot of really good players, and I got to see him live in person a lot. So I would say, I expect at least a couple more out of them in my lifetime, but
Mhm.
this is definitely one of the better ones I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, they were just like you said, like they were just dominant. It felt easy every single time they were out there. And yeah, it was just a great I mean, frankly, it was a great March Madness all around.
Oh, without a
Like
doubt.
one of the better tournaments that we've probably had in recent years. I mean, you had Fairleigh Dickinson start the whole thing off with the upset over Purdue. You had upsets left and right and just great games all around. And I know some people might have been disappointed that it wasn't a closer game, but the fact that UConn as a 4 seed was able to make a run like this is impressive enough as it is. And same thing with the San Diego State as a 5. You typically don't see teams like this be this dominant and make that run to the championship game. So credit to both of them, but like we said, like UConn just had that complete advantage in this
Yeah,
one.
exactly. I 100% agree. They just took the ball and ran with it this entire tournament.
Yeah. Now, Ty, I know that while the on the court stuff was great for UConn, stores ain't looking so great right now. So following the championship, UConn students took to the streets, to different places on campus, and tore the place to shreds. I mean, they ripped light posts out of the ground. They were smashing windows, flipping cars. I think one kid almost got killed. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, what the hell was going on down there? It was
Well,
ridiculous.
I think you need to know that it wasn't just UConn students there. I think the entire state of Connecticut was there that night, and that was part of the havoc. But no, that was just insane. I mean,
Ridiculous.
pulling
Like, what are you
poles
doing?
out of the
What are
ground.
you doing? Like we're not Philadelphia. We're not like doing that crap here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I've never understood that where it's like I can understand like, hey, going out partying in the streets, like dancing, if you want to climb a tree for God's sake, okay, whatever. But I've never understood the whole, hey, our school just did something amazing. Let's freaking destroy it.
Yeah.
I've never gotten that. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like they've just been like, I've never been able to comprehend that. I mean, like, it's the same thing that happened to Bryant back last March when we got in that whole fight incident with Wagner. And I mean, it's a different case because it's like, all right, like tensions boiled over in the arena, in the area of play. And I'm not, not siding with anyone in that area of the fight. I'm not saying that Bryant students that engaged in that were right. I'm not saying that the Wagner students that engaged with it were right. Both parties were wrong. Both parties were at fault. And I think that, the university did a good job handling it. But it's ridiculous the fact that like, why are you deciding to just blow up your campus? Like, I've
No.
never understood that.
Exactly. And you're gonna be the one
But
who ends up paying for it too in the long run.
well, no, you're going to be the one who ends up paying it. It's a state school. Those taxes are
That's
going to
true.
you, buddy.
That's true.
Like,
You're right.
I've never gotten that. It's just like, okay, yeah, like, don't complain when your tuition goes up another couple $1,000. Like, that was on you deciding. I think they literally used a light post as like a battering ram to like, and like, what were they bashing in like the student union? What was it?
I'm not sure, but there was light poles controlled by multiple people, and also there were some cars flipped over too. I saw some videos of that.
I mean, like it's like Canada when they lose in the Stanley Cup, or like what was it, like Montreal, like whenever they would lose, they would like burn the city to death. They would burn the city down.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's like you didn't even like lose. Like, if you lost, it's like I'm not gonna say like I forgive you or say I understand it, but there is anger that takes place, and I'm not saying that it's right, but you can understand like, oh, angry mob mentality. Oh, they're gonna want to burn it all down. Blah blah blah. You won. You should be celebrating. You should be thankful for what you got. But instead, they're just a-holes.
No, exactly. I mean, that team used the UConn facilities all year, respected it. Like, just have pride in your school and show it by, maybe
it's stupid
posting something on social media, not tearing the place
apart. And I mean, listen, I know plenty of kids that go to UConn and they didn't do that stuff. Like, I know plenty of kids, they were just posting and saying like how grateful they were to be, at the basketball, like that, they literally say it's the basketball capital of the world. Like they were posting about that, talking about, how great a year it was to go and, look at all that stuff. So, I mean, it's not all of them. It's just the few couple, I unfortunately, I can't say the words on air, but you know what I mean. It's just those clowns, and they just kind of make a bad name for everyone else. And it's the same thing with everything. I mean, the people that got in the fight at Bryant, they put a bad name for a lot of the students here. And it's just like they don't realize that they make a bad name for everyone else.
No, exactly. And it's tough to separate the minority from the majority.
Exactly.
But I one counterpoint I would make in defense of the UConn students, in stores, there's nothing to do.
I mean, yeah,
there's nothing.
There is nothing to do in stores. I've been to stores. I've never been on UConn's actual campus, but I've been through stores, and based on that, I can tell you there is nothing to do in stores besides the adventure park.
Yeah.
That place is fun. I went there my senior year of high school. We did a little class trip there.
That was it's a fun spot.
Other than that,
you could farm.
You could farm
too.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, like you said, it is a wasteland out there. It's kind of like UMass Amherst, where once you get off the campus, there's really not too much. But I've been to downtown Amherst, and like there are like little shops, little restaurants, and things you can do. It's not really the case in stores. No. It really is in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, unlike Bryant, where we also kind of are in like kind of a cattle town,
cattle region,
a cattle region. There was something I wanted to say, but I know I can't say it. But yeah, we're in kind of like cattle country. At least we're like a 15 to 30 minute drive from Providence. Like we're, you can go on the trains, you can go to Boston, you can go to anywhere you pretty much want when you go to Bryant. Like you just have to have a car to get there. Yeah, in stores, man, you're kind of just like stuck. It's like you better love that campus, and I don't know if those kids do, to be honest.
Clearly, they don't.
It's crazy, man. But I don't know. This has been, like you said, a crazy, well, not like you said, like I said, a crazy March Madness. And I gotta say, like, both on the men's side and on the women's side, like it was actually, pretty well covered, I think, this year. I know that this year, on the women's side, we got to see Caitlin Clark for Iowa just be a complete beast and take her team all the way to the national championship. I mean, Ty, like you were watching some of those games. Take me through what you were seeing with her.
Her performance was incredible. Like a lot of times
remarkable.
People use a term like having that dog in them, and all tournament long, she just had that dog in her. And I loved the face swipe. I mean, I thought that was great. And there's nothing wrong with, talking some smack after you just dropped almost a 30-point triple double. I see nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And that's something I wanted to talk about. So in the championship game between Iowa, LSU player Angel Reese, LSU frankly dominated the game against Iowa. I mean, what was the final score? It was like 109,
106, maybe
to
like
82.
80, yeah, something.
Yeah, so they dominated throughout the game. And, towards the end of the game, Angel Reese basically, I guess, took exception to when Caitlin Clark was doing the whole John Cena, you can't see me thing, and essentially did it back to her when, the game was settled and everyone was like, and she knew she was going to be winning the championship. She was also pointing at her ring saying like, hey, ring me. I just got the chip. And like, I mean, it's great. Like I frankly don't like, I know like the internet kind of blew up at it. I know Dave Portnoy was saying, oh, this is classless, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like the sport probably needs that.
Yeah.
Like it really does. Cause I'm just like, the only gripe you could probably have with it is that it did happen like at the end of the game. Whereas if it was in like, when the game was closer, but frankly, credit to LSU, they didn't make it close.
Yeah.
But maybe when the game was closer, if she had like a big play and she did it, it might've been like whatever there. I can understand maybe where some people are mad that it happened where, the game was already decided. Why are you like rubbing it in? But at the same time, who cares? She's also a kid.
Yeah.
Let her express herself. Like that's the thing with sports. Like I'm like in a lot of ways, I kind of see myself as a traditionalist, except for that stuff. I'm a fan in baseball of bat flips, batters showing up the pitcher, when pitchers like strike out the hitters, like getting all pumped up on the mound. I'm pumped. I love that stuff. So when it comes to college basketball, yeah, go crazy. Like show up your opponent when you're dominating out there. I have no problem with that.
No, I agree. And I think maybe the issue that people may have found with it is maybe just the narrative of it all. And, they probably more people wanted to see Caitlin Clark just go off and win it all. And when that didn't happen and they just saw her, getting the same thing mirrored back to her, maybe a taste of her own medicine, they weren't too happy to see that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people probably saw the whole Caitlin Clark story developing throughout the tournament I mean, you look at it, it's kind of similar to what, like in baseball where you have like certain guys like Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout or different guys that are just favored and you want to see them have success. You can probably make cases of it in the NBA too, where you have guys like LeBron and KD, where it's like those are the players that that league is trying to pump up and is like, if they could have LeBron win the championship every year, they'd probably do it because they just like the press that it gets.
Yeah.
So it's like the type of thing where it's like, yeah, they wanted Caitlin Clark to win it because at that time she was the biggest star in the tournament, and seeing someone just completely take over and will their team to victory probably was like the ideal situation for the NCAA. However, LSU, like credit enough, came in there, squashed their hopes, and also put up an amazing performance. So I mean, like at the end of the day, I think we got a very good result.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like LSU like cheaply won there was like it was like mired in controversy and it's like, oh, Caitlin Clark got robbed. It's like no. It's like no, Angel Reese, LSU, and the rest of those girls went out there and dominated.
Yeah. And I think the press of all it too. I mean, obviously, it's just a fact. Women's sports just not as much watched as men's sports,
Yeah.
and that's a problem we need to curb as a society. And I mean, the fact that these storylines we're developing, we're talking about them, and they're getting national coverage. That's still not even as close, but definitely getting better. I think that's great for the game, and
yeah,
I think sports need to be globalized and get rid of the gender bias a bit. But
yeah, and I mean, listen, I think that it was just I think frankly it was a great competition for both the men and the women, and yeah, I don't really see any issue with it. I think people should be able to celebrate all they want, gloat all they want, go crazy. Like, just the only thing I'll say is like similar to kind of how it happened to Caitlin Clark. It can come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, just be ready for that.
Yeah.
Because it did. That's the thing where sometimes I get mad when players on my own team like show up the opponent and do all that stuff because I believe in karma.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I'm just like, oh, if someone on like the Patriots, like say Jacoby Myers, when he was on the Patriots, or now like Juju Smith-Schuster is probably a perfect example. Say he scores a touchdown, is like doing like this crazy dance on like the logo, or is like doing TikTok dances. I see that and I'm just like, that's going to come back to bite the team in the ass. That's going to get us one day.
Don't poke the bear.
Exactly.
Don't poke the bear.
That's always my fear with it. And I'm like, we're going to got because of that. And when it's someone on another team, I think it's great. I just don't like seeing it for my personal team just because I get scared of it. But at the end of the day, I think it's good for competition. I think that, trash talk, it's a part of the game. I mean, it's been in, sports for decades now, probably even since its inception. So like, you just got to accept it and move on.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So there was one other thing I saw about the whole LSU thing, and it was that First Lady Jill Biden, I guess, wanted to invite both Iowa and LSU to the White House as like to say like, oh, we want to invite the runner-ups as well. And Angel Reese like took exception to that, and she ended up saying like, this is a joke. Like, are you kidding me? And frankly, I got to side with her on this. I'm like, you don't invite the losing team to the White House. You can say like, you can, if you want to send like a congratulations letter or something like that, sure. But that is a privilege that's meant for the winning team of the tournament.
Yeah, I would feel kind of slighted as the team that went all the way and won it. And it was like, oh, there's my opponents that we beat.
Yeah, they get to come to the White House too.
Yeah.
No, you don't get that. Like if you want to send them like a little like appreciation basket, or you want to send them like a video saying like, hey guys, good season, you did a great job for like the sport. Sure, go nuts. Who cares? We'll go crazy. But that's a privilege that's meant for the winning team. And I mean, like right now, I guess there's like some controversy as to whether LSU is going to go because of, First Lady Biden saying that. So that's going to be something to watch down the line.
Yeah, I would say don't break tradition. Let just the winner go and just keep it the same.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Ty, that's kind of what we have for March Madness. I mean, another great tournament this year. Like I said, this is probably one of the better ones that we've seen in recent memory. I mean, they're just getting better and better each year.
Really are.
And just because of like, there's so much more parity now. I think the transfer portal's opened up a whole lot. And, you're not seeing all these teams, like a lot of like those blue blood teams. I know Connecticut got through this year, but, Duke's kind of going through some turnover right now. And a lot of these teams, they're not exactly what they used to be. And, like FDU, all these other schools, Florida Atlantic making a run to the Final Four. They can sneak up on you now.
Yeah. And I think it's a testament too of where youth athletics is be starting to trend to, because there's more and more NBA ready or possibly NBA level talent on every single, from majors to mid majors, on every single squad. You can find 1 to 2 guys who you can make a case for going to the NBA. So
Yeah,
I think that's what helps brings a lot of parity. But it was true madness, and it was really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, it's frankly the best thing, that it's probably the best tournament or playoff format in all of sports. I mean, you can't really beat it
No,
because I mean, you just can't predict a perfect bracket. It's impossible. And
statistically.
I mean, we saw it this year and it was remarkable. So that's kind of what we have for March Madness, kind of, going off. And oh yeah, there was one other thing. Jim Nantz retiring.
Oh man,
That's real sad, man.
It's tough because he was the voice of college basketball
Literally
for my entire life. Like, it just to see him go. Granted, he'll still be doing. I think he'll still be on the Masters and maybe I think the
NFL.
football as well.
Yeah. So he's not fully gone yet, but it's March Madness isn't going to feel the same without him.
No, not at all. I love Gus Johnson. I think
Gus Johnson is the best.
He'll take a bigger role going forward.
I hope so, because I don't think he was involved with any of these games this year.
No, he really
sucked.
wasn't.
Because I think he's with Fox right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem, is he actually can't get involved with these games, which I'm you got to get Gus on the call. You got to get him on one, because in my opinion, Gus Johnson is one of the best announcers that we've ever seen. Because just the energy that he brings, he is perfect. And whether it's college basketball, college football, pro football, he needs to be on the call. So that's what we have in March Madness. We're going to transition things over now to the NFL, and I want to say that there's a little interesting story coming out of Foxborough right now. It looks like Mac Jones may not be in a Patriots uniform to start next season. There have been reports from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk saying that the Patriots are reportedly shopping Mac Jones to other teams around the league. Now, the full list of teams that were mentioned includes the Raiders, the Texans, the Bucks, and the Commanders. So let me just get your thoughts on this first. I mean, 2 years in, Mac Jones kind of given a crap deal with a defensive coordinator as your offensive play caller, Joe Judge, who was fired from the Giants rather, unsanctimoniously.
Yeah.
And now you have this whole situation of possibly being traded. How do you feel about all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I couldn't see him going to the Raiders because I feel like they've locked up quarterback with Jimmy G. I think they're solid there. I would give Mac another year in New England and just see what he can do. I mean, he has made the playoffs for the Pats before. I mean, it hasn't been all bad for Mac. Who knows? I mean, that begs the next question: Who is replacement? Who do you get? Do you trade up in the draft? Do you? But yeah, I would like to see Mac run another year out in New England for sure.
Yeah, I'll say this: I'm not trying to have the Pats trade up in the draft. If we're gonna get rid of Mac Jones, I need us to get someone who's in the league already. I'm not trying to go listen. Anthony Richardson looks like an absolute stud, but I don't think it's the best move for the Pats to just start over and get another rookie. If we want to move on from Mac Jones, get a veteran, get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, steal him away from the Jets, or better yet, get Lamar Jackson, who still hasn't signed anywhere yet. I mean, he demanded a trade from the Ravens, and I guess according to Meek Mill, who is now Adam Schefter or Adrian Wojnarowski, he said he wants to play for the Pats. So get him in. Yeah. So I mean, get him in New England, and if we can't do either of those scenarios, then keep Mac.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to just start over with another unknown. And frankly, if we give Mac a full season with Bill O'Brien, get him back to the offense that he came into the league with under Josh McDaniels, I think we can at least see him get back to the success he had his rookie year, if not better than that. And frankly, I would treat this year like his second year in the league. I would throw last year completely out the window because Matt Patricia just ruined him. Bill Belichick did him so dirty because of all this. And it's really unfair what's happened to this kid. I mean, I know that there was a whole thing that's coming out right now where apparently Mac Jones called the Alabama offensive coordinators group to ask for advice on what was going wrong with the Pats during last season.
Wow.
So I'm not a fan of Mac Jones doing that. I think that's kind of low to kind of go, up, kind of go above your own personnel and go to your college team to try to figure things out. So I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I do think Mac Jones has gotten the short end of the stick here. He hasn't gotten a fair shake at all. And listen, I'm not saying that Tom Brady ever got a fair shake when he was here. I think Belichick was very hard on him. But listen, I don't care if this was the guy that Bill Belichick wanted to draft. I don't care if it was the guy Robert Kraft wanted to draft. I don't care if it was a mutual decision like they said. Belichick actually needs to give him a legit chance to succeed in the league, like all these other, coaches and teams do. I mean, Daniel Jones, who was not good for, his like first 2-3 years in the league.
3 years.
Yeah, he was not a statistically good quarterback. I think was averaging a turnover every single game. The Giants went all in and they said, all right, we're going to surround you with weapons. We're going to, shore up your offensive line, make sure things are good for you and give you the tools to succeed. And guess what? He went out there, performed, and got himself a $40 million contract for the team. So, I mean, if you want to see Mac Jones succeed, surround him with the necessary pieces to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know this sounds stupid and redundant. I'm aware of that case, but if you're not going to support him, like, what are you doing?
No, exactly. And I really don't fault Mac for going back to his.
Frankly, I think Mac could have demanded a trade.
Yeah, no,
or at least said like, hey, I want to get looked around here.
Yeah, I think him going back to his coordinators at Alabama too. I think it makes a lot of sense because he went from being in a position at Alabama where he was competing for national championships, winning national championships, being the starter there. And I'm sure in his head, he's thinking to himself, man, like, is it me? Am I the problem? Am I bad at football? But
sure.
I think Mac is better than what we've seen. I totally agree. I think more weapons are needed to really see his true ability.
Yeah, I think the issue with Mac Jones last year too, under Patricia, I mean, we saw it happen when he kind of blew up in that Bears game on the sideline. He was talking to Patricia. There were some, a couple expletives thrown in there. And I think, the other thing too is like Patricia wasn't letting Mac, play to his strengths. He was doing a lot of those screen passes, a lot of run plays. I know that we're trying to do stuff with the quick game. And not that Mac Jones is necessarily a good deep ball thrower, but I mean, Bill Belichick, I kind of even, threw him under the bus, I know, at one point last season and said like, oh, he's not like, a true gunslinger. I don't know the specific terms that he said, but he basically called Mac out for having a noodle arm. And Mac Jones was saying like, hey, I may not have like the strongest arm, but I work best when I'm pushing the ball down the field and actually like trying to, not just do like these little screen plays. And Patricia didn't want to hear any of it, and he'd rather have Bailey Zappi run those plays, which for Mac I can see as being extremely infuriating.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like I feel for Mac Jones, and I think like give him a real shot with Bill O'Brien. I think that he needs to come into this team and just have a fresh start. I don't know, like you're not going to get Belichick to apologize to the kid, but you need some sort of like a reconciliation here.
Without a doubt. I mean, regardless of what happens, everyone can have big dreams of Lamar or Rodgers, but as of right now, Mac Jones is your quarterback and just gotta build bridges.
Mm-hmm. Now, if they were to move on from him, if you were the Pats and Mac Jones is out the door, of the available quarterbacks, who is the one guy that you would bring him in for? I mean, Lamar's the obvious one.
It's obviously Lamar. I mean, I think Rodgers' asking price, as we've seen, is definitely way too high. I'm starting to be concerned whether or not Rodgers has actually moved. He may just retire. He may just be forced to go into retirement because the Packers are definitely, the fact that he hasn't been swapped to the Jets yet is kind of concerning in that area.
It is. I mean, I'm just surprised. Like, it seemed like 2 weeks ago I was on spring break, ready to come back on a plane to New England. And it seemed like a certainty that Aaron Rodgers was going to be playing for the Jets. He went on Pat McAfee's show and literally said so.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the Packers, they aren't just going to part with him that easily. Like they are going to, they are going to drive the Jets a bargain, and we're going to see how this thing goes.
No. And I mean, it's not unreasonable for them to ask a lot, but I mean, you do have Jordan Love, you're clearly don't want to use Aaron Rodgers anymore. So let the man play in New York if he wants to play and, work something out that's fair for both sides.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand that, but it's been ridiculous this year. I mean, I just don't know what's going to happen with the Pats. One thing that I saw that was interesting today, though, that I was listening to like 98.5 The Sports Hub during work, and they had mentioned, unlike the NBA where there's like the whole thing where if you sign a free agent, you can't trade him immediately. The NFL doesn't have those rules. So one person was saying, what if the Raiders decided to actually make a push and trade for Mac Jones, and the Pats were able to get Jimmy Garoppolo in return?
That would be interesting for sure. That would
Because
be really interesting.
Jimmy Garoppolo was Bill Belichick's guy. That was the guy that he wanted to bring into the league. And, even when Garoppolo went elsewhere, he went to the 49ers. He was able to lead that team to a couple NFC championship games, a Super Bowl at one point. And, he might be the guy that Belichick would like to get back in this system. I mean, it would be very difficult to make it work, but I think Garoppolo's deal is actually very team friendly. I think he's only making like 24 million, which I know in the grand scheme of things is a boatload of money, but for quarterbacks is kind of on the cheaper side.
Yeah.
So I think the Pats might say like, all right, if we can get Garoppolo for 2 to 3 years at 25 million rather than Mac Jones in a couple years for 45 million, would you make that move?
That's tough. That's tough because you would like to see what Mac develops into, but then there's also that chance he doesn't develop into what you want. I don't know. I've never been the biggest Jimmy G fan, so that feels like kind of a lateral move to me.
I kind of agree. I don't really think that he kind of just feels like it would be not Mac Jones like 2.0, but I feel like it would just be like
a band-aid to a worse problem than they're willing to admit. It's tough with Mac. I really do think Mac with the right weapons. I mean, you've seen it at Alabama. He had studs at every position, and they were a successful team. You got drafted highly of it. So I don't know. It's tough with him.
Absolutely. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but that's what we have in NFL news, Tyler. Before we do end up ending this thing off, though, I want to switch up and go into the Major League Baseball. The season is finally back, so the Red Sox just started things up recently. They've kind of been struggling. I know that they just lost a series to the Pittsburgh Pirates of all teams, which is that's a real punch in the gut.
It's tough.
How do you think about what are your thoughts on the Sox this year?
I mean,
it's rough. Like I do not have the highest of hopes.
No, I mean, I think they're gonna just be exactly what we think they were going into the season. Nothing too special. I've said this in the past, and that they've somehow managed to make the playoffs before, but I don't know. The pitching, it isn't at the caliber that every other team in our division is at. Like, I like a lot of moves they made. I like Yoshida. I like Turner too. I think Turner's gonna be a solid bat. But for the most part, I mean, I feel like we lost more than we added, and we weren't that good to begin with.
That's the issue. I mean, we lose Xander Bogaerts, and I mean, look at him in San Diego right now. He is on fire. I think he's batting like 380 so far through these first couple of games. He is on an absolute heater right now. And then even JD Martinez is doing really well with the Dodgers. So yeah, I mean, thank God we were able to at least lock down Rafael Devers, because I was scared to death. Once Bogarts walked, I was like, there's no shot we keep Devers now. We're going to become the Tampa Bay Red Sox, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is terrible. So at least we were able to give Devers a legit contract to get him here long term. So I'm glad that was able to happen. But yeah, the issue with this team, frankly, I think this team could be a playoff caliber team. The big issue is going to be their starting pitching this year. It's not even the fact that we have bad starting pitching. It's, I know that Brian Bayo and Garrett Whitlock right now are currently injured. They're working their way back. I know Whitlock is in AAA, so that hopefully means that he'll be rejoining the major league roster soon. And then Bayo, I know, just made another rehab start down in Fort Myers. So who knows how far along he is. And then maybe we'll see a James Paxton sighting of all things. I mean, that guy's been on the team for 2 years now, and I don't even know if I've seen his face. So, I mean, like, I don't even know if he's real or not at this point. But, even if he's back, we don't know what he's going to look like. And, to top it all off, Chris Sale isn't looking really too good so far. In his first start, got absolutely shelled. I mean, he went to a press conference afterwards and said it's the most embarrassed he's ever been on a baseball field. And I just don't know if we're going to be able to see Chris Sale get back to the guy he was 4 or 5 years ago when he first got here.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever see that Chris Sale again.
Yeah. And the thing that's weird too is it's not like, what happens to typical pitchers where, their breaking ball doesn't have as much like bite on it anymore. Oh, their fastball has lost a little bit. I mean, maybe he's lost a mile an hour or two off his fastball, but he can still throw it like 97, like 96, 97 miles an hour. Like, it's not chump change. It's not nothing.
No.
But there was one pitch, it was to Cedric Mullins. It was like 95 up in the zone, and Mullins was able to take it over the wall. Like it's like that's not like a just like a cheap pitch that like, oh, like Chris Sale left like a curveball hanging in the zone and was like a dumb move. Like he still is able to pump like really good numbers, but hitters are just making contact with him. And I just don't know what it is. Like you can still throw hard, but when your pitches don't have life to them, where if like you can throw like 98 miles an hour and it can just be flat. And that's the worst thing you can ever have as a pitcher is when your pitches are all flat, they don't move at all. Because it doesn't matter how hard you're throwing. If they don't have any like kind of like little bit of movement, hitters can eventually square that up. And like the slider is basically unhittable, but he doesn't seem to have a feel for it right now. So if he doesn't have life on his fastball, if he doesn't have a feel for his slider, what do you have out there? Like I really don't know. Like what do you have out there with Chris Sale when he just isn't himself?
You have a bloated contract and an old Chris Sale.
Yeah, it's bad, and I just don't know what we're gonna get with him. And everyone was banking on him being our like saving grace this year, which it's scary enough. So yeah. I don't know what the future is gonna look like with him on this team. Hopefully, you can see a return to glory, but he's 34 right now, and the amount of injuries that he's had at this point, it's not great. I mean, the man's made of glass, to be honest with you.
He really is.
I will say this. He had a bad break with the comebacker off the finger. Like that was bad.
That was tough.
Like,
that was
like
tough.
you can't do anything about that. But then
it's compounding injuries too, one after another.
The biking incident. I like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like you can't ever like make this stuff up. So it's ridiculous. I really am just out of loss for words when it comes to this stuff by now. So I don't know what that's gonna look like. But yeah, starting pitching is gonna be the weakness. Corey Kluber on opening day. Whew, that was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, why did we say he was going to be the opening day starter? I know I was just trashing on Chris Sale, but he pitched a day like 2 days later. Why couldn't he have gone out there and at least like, made it somewhat respectable? It's like, oh, you were putting our ace on the mound. But no, we put Corey Kluber, who hasn't been good in 7 years. Like, I know he had a no-hitter like a couple years ago, but that's when the baseballs were all like dead out of their mind. And he also, was maybe using like the sticky stuff, like who knows. And like, yeah, he had the one no hitter, but other than that, he's been an extremely hittable pitcher. Like he hasn't been that guy he was when he was with Cleveland. So I don't know what to, make of this offense, of this rotation. The offense, I will say, which is what I was going to mention, I'm impressed with. I mean, they're scoring like 7 and 9 runs a game. They're actually, putting up some good numbers. Adam Duvall was just AL player of the week with that amazing walk-off home run. I think he went 4 for 5 in that game alone. So, I mean, we did bring in some guys, like you said. Yoshida, I really like. I think that he's going to provide more pop in the middle of the lineup than I think I ever thought he would. I thought he was going to be something similar to like, not like Ichiro, but kind of like Nori Aoki when he came to the league, where it was kind of just like very, kind of like a slap hitter. Maybe could
contact fast outfield.
Maybe could pull it every now and then, but no, like he's got some legit pop. I mean, we saw it in the WBC when he was facing off against Team USA, and we saw it here. I mean, he looks like a very legit bat, and I'm excited for what he can provide for us. So that's something great to see. You mentioned Turner. I'm glad that he's back from that terrible hit by pitch he took in the spring. So he could maybe be something. And then, another player I'm really excited about right now is Tristan Casas. He's seemed to, develop a lot more plate discipline. He's getting a lot deeper in counts and is really looking for his pitch. And we've seen already, like on the ones that he finds, he absolutely cranks.
He does.
So like, there are some upsides to this team, but I can't look at the 2023 Red Sox and see anything other than it being a gap year.
Yeah.
Which for Boston fans is not something that you like to hear.
No.
Because when you like to, when you're the Boston Red Sox, you're the New York Yankees, you're the Los Angeles Dodgers, the goal is World Series every year. Obviously, those goals and those those wishes might be a little bit, weary, and it may not be like completely accurate, but the assumption is like usually you're putting out a team that could in theory, maybe with a couple moves at the deadline, maybe like a couple things here or there, make the move. I don't know. And all good. But yeah, it's ridiculous, man. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, so what do you think about all that stuff?
No, I think the Sox, they're definitely in a rebuilding mode. It's tough. This is, I think, what we expected to get with Chain, but he's not the type of guy that's gonna be bringing up massive contracts. We saw that with Bogarts. But I think fans just need to come to grips with that. We're going to be rebuilding for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not going to be great for a little bit, but hopefully he can put it together and this young talent will come through that, everybody's been talking about for so long.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that Chaim Bloom right now is in hot water. I mean, the team that he put together last year and the moves that he made this offseason have fans really angry. I mean, we saw during the town hall, which was like back in like January, you had fans show up in the middle of Springfield to boo him and the rest of ownership on stage. So this thing could get ugly for him quick. He could be gone by the summer if things get bad enough, which I want Bloom out at this point. I don't think he's doing a good job for this team. But what I can understand is the fact that, he isn't necessarily the issue. He's just a part of it. The actual issue is John Henry and the ownership not wanting to spend.
Yeah.
Because if Henry and ownership wanted to spend, Bloom would probably be out there and we probably would have been able to at least make a bid to get Xander Bogaerts back on this team. We didn't do that.
No.
So that's the flaw that we have with that going forward.
Not even that we didn't do that. We made Xander Bogaerts not feel valued in Boston.
Yeah,
That's
the offer
crime.
we gave him was a crime.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And then the Padres just completely blew it out of the water. I mean, frankly, they did overpay him, but they just made our offer look so minuscule and embarrassing. Bogaerts just felt like there was nothing else he could do. He had to walk away at that point. And frankly, I don't blame Xander Bogaerts for walking away. I mean, when if it had been like a couple $1 million off or the Red Sox had expected like a slight hometown discount, I can understand that and I can be like sympathetic to it. But when it's a deal like that, loyalty doesn't mean anything at that point. Like if they're like, that's a lack of loyalty that they're showing you. So all that went out the window at that point.
I totally agree. And I think Xander will be good for a long time. To expect him to be great for 13 years.
That's a stretch, but I think at least like defensively, no. I think he will eventually probably be able to move over to like first base and actually play over there. At least he'll be able to play second if it comes to it, maybe third if Machado leaves, and kind of maintain that longevity that many shortstops just aren't able to possess. Like, I know Cal Ripken Jr. was able to play his entire career at shortstop for the Orioles. That's not going to be Xander Bogaerts. He's going to end up moving to another position at some point. Maybe if he keeps hitting like this, he'll be the DH for the Orioles in 10 years. We don't know what it's going to look like. So I don't know, man. It's been crazy. I mean, other than just the Red Sox across baseball, there's been a ton of other changes. I mean, the pitch clock has been unreal so far. It's been cutting off, I think it's like averaging like 20, like MLB games are averaging like 25 minutes less than last year. What do you think about the changes and everything that's going on?
I love the pitch clock. I'm a huge supporter of the pitch clock. I think one of the main problems with Major League Baseball right now is it's just too long. It's just too long. And we all know people our age, our attention spans are getting shorter every single
garbage.
day.
Our attention spans are garbage.
I do it myself. I check my phone every 5 minutes and don't even remember doing it. But I think the pitch clock is going to be huge for the, modernization of the game. The bigger bases too. I like that. I don't know if you've seen all the memes about Vogelbach.
I have seen that. It's been that's great. I will say this. I didn't see I can understand where people were seeing the need for the pitch clock, the need for all these other different changes. I didn't necessarily see the need for the bigger bases. People were saying that, it's going to create a bigger spot for players to actually step on the base and avoid knee injuries and collisions. And that's never been the issue. The issue is that the bases are too hard and it's the type of surface where it doesn't cushion the knee. That's why people are blowing their knee out. It's not because it's too small of a space. It's you're going over an Atlas stone with a cleat. Of course, if you go over in the wrong position, you're going to blow your leg out. That's the problem with that. So, I mean, I didn't think the size difference of the bases was going to make that much of a difference, but inevitably it has. I mean, the amount of stolen bases this year is unreal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Guys are stealing left and right. I saw recently Ty France of the Mariners, who had never had a stolen base throughout 3 years in his career or something, I think was the case, stole third base recently the other night.
Wow.
Which for those of you who don't know is, extremely difficult.
One of the hardest things to do in baseball.
Yeah, because it's 90 feet. The catcher's got an absolute gun and it's a straight shot most of the time. So it's like
for most right-handed catchers, they're going right that way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's usually just one of the easier things. It's very much like something like you have to be extremely fast to do it. So the fact that a catcher was able to or the fact that like a guy like Ty France, who traditionally doesn't do this, was able to accomplish that is unreal. So that's something that's been happening as well throughout baseball. But Tyler, this is a change that I know a lot of people have been kind of like celebrating like the pitch clock, celebrating the stolen bases and all this stuff throughout baseball. There is one change though that's kind of having people 50-50 right now, and it's happening at Fenway Park. So over the offseason, the Red Sox decided to change out their lights at Fenway. They decided to go from whatever old like kind of lights that they had to all LEDs. So like they now have like, whatever kind of design they have up there now. And because of that, they're able to manipulate the lights to kind of do like pregame light shows, different things like that, and kind of adds like a different element to the game. I worked for the Woo Sox this summer. We had some stuff like that. So I got to see some of that at Polar Park. Now it's at Fenway. And basically now after a home run, there's like a light show that goes on, and it's kind of like, it's pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you've seen it.
Right.
Yeah. I'll see if I could find a clip of it for you if I go on Twitter. But yeah, like some people are complaining about it. Some people are saying that it's awesome, but others are like, hey, this is like too much, man.
Yeah. I think that problem is when the sport becomes too much entertainment. I think people like that. I think people don't like that. I think people might think it's hurting the integrity of the game, but I'm like I said, including this change, I'm all aboard.
Yeah, this is the light show celebration that goes on now whenever home runs hit.
Oh, come on. How could you have a problem with that?
I don't know, man. Like
That's awesome.
Like in park, I can see where it would in the park, I could see where it would look amazing, but on TV, it kind of looks weird because like after the Duvall walk-off homer, where typically you're gonna see like the player running around the bases,
it looks like they lost power.
It just like looks like, yeah, it looks like someone's just flipping the lights on and off. It's like, what the hell's going on in the stadium? And I think I saw someone say like, hey, I really, I really would have liked to enjoy that homer, but I was too busy having a seizure on the side on my at home just because of the craziness that was going on. It's like, yeah, I could see how that'd be an issue.
Yeah,
like it's crazy, and I mean, like, a walk-off homer, it's one of the most exciting things that you can watch in the sport. So it's like, how much more exciting do you really need to make it? I'm like 50-50 on this issue myself. Like, I don't really have like one specific way that I favor with this. My thing would just be do a pregame light show, like do something cool, like in between innings, something like that. But you don't need to do like this whole thing, like after every single home run, like, if you're down like 10-3 and some guy cranks a solo shot in the eighth, I don't need to see them like break out like the fireworks. Like, I don't like, I feel like I'm already going to be demoralized enough.
No, for sure. Like I said, it's definitely becoming more entertainment, and I think you need to push into that entertainment side of the game to, draw more fans, which is why all of this is happening. So unfortunately, I think it's just a necessary evil to grow the game, but I'm with you on the fact that, it shouldn't be overused. I think it should be
use it just
caution.
enough. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another thing I saw too. I don't know if I can find the actual clip of it, but there's like a before and after of the Sox and night games before, with the old lights and with the new ones. I swear, man, with the new ones, it literally looks like a day game.
Really?
Because with the old lights, they were kind of like a yellowish kind of tint to them. So you could really kind of tell it was night. Like you could see like a lot more detail in like the dirt, different things like that. I mean, you played baseball growing up. I don't know if you played a couple night games back then.
A few.
Yeah, you can kind of tell how the field would look like different. Like you could see like different shadows. It it just like looked different on TV. It literally looks like a day game. It looks like a 4 o'clock start. It's unreal. So I kind of have like a weird feeling about that, but other than that, man, it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I think there will be a transition adjustment period with it, but I think once they have a good routine and a good system for it, I think fans will really enjoy it.
I'm wondering how it's kind of breaking down though, whether it's like just like young people love it and old people hate it or vice versa. I mean, probably not vice versa,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering like what is like the actual breakdown of favorability.
That'd be an interesting, like a season ticket holder. Ask your average Fenway season ticket holder what they would think. I
Mhm.
think it would be pretty split decision. I think you're right. I think it would be split between young and old. I think
Mhm.
that's where the biggest division is.
Yeah. My only gripe about it, which I said, is just the way it looks on TV.
Mm.
Because I think like they didn't, I don't know if they did like a full broadcast crew with these lights because it just looks so like weird any other way. But yeah, other than that, Tyler, I mean, I think that we covered a lot on this show. I think at this point we're down to the wire. So we're going to review this episode and send you guys on your way. So, Tyler Tucker, thank you for coming back on the show, man.
Thank you for having me. As always, it is always a pleasure on Down to the Wire.
Yeah, we're a little bit of a late night special here, approaching 10 o'clock in Koffler. But no, so I do appreciate you coming over. I know you had a night class, so I really do thank you for that. So we reviewed the UConn men's and LSU women's basketball championships. We talked about the Pats shopping Mac Jones and ended with a little kind of take on the MLB starting their season, the Red Sox, the pitch clock, bigger bases, all that stuff. So it was a great time. If you guys are interested in following Down to the Wire, make sure you guys go follow us on all our streaming platforms and on Instagram, which is at down.to-the-wire. And Tyler, you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, drop that follow.
Yeah, absolutely. So from DTW, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Tyler Tucker.
And we hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Take care and peace out.